Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Gyantimirandhasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Chapter 1, verse 1. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharam kshetre kurukshetre samvetayuyutsavaha mamkaha pandavascha eva kim akurvat Sanjaya. King Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjay, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do, having assembled at the sacred land of Kurukshetra, desiring to fight? So last time we discussed what is the meaning of Dharam Kshetra and why Kurukshetra was called this holy place. Because Krishna was personally present and Dharma is directly the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. This battle of Kurukshetra is a fight between religious and irreligious principles. What is really religion? As we discussed, that for one to be situated in one's constitutional position of eternal servitorship to the Supreme Lord is the real dharma of the living entity. And to enjoy independent of the Supreme Lord is adharma. The Pandavas very well knew what dharma was, and the Kauravas very well knew what was adharma. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, both Arjun and Duryodhan went to Sri Krishna to find out on whose side he was going to fight, because he was related to both of them. When they reached Krishna's palace, he was taking rest. First Duryodhan reached, and as arrogant he was, seeing Krishna taking rest, he did not disturb him, but went and sat right next to his head. A few minutes later, Arjun also reached there, and when seeing Krishna taking rest, he quietly sat at his lotus feet. So we see that a devotee is always at the lotus feet of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee, a materialist like Duryodhan, wants to become as good as God or as equal to him. After some time, Krishna opened his eyes and he first saw Arjun because he was sitting close to his feet. Then he also saw Duryodhan and asked them, "What brings both of you here?" So they said, "We have come here to see on whose side you and your army is going to fight." So Krishna said, "Okay Arjun, you first go and ask what do you want." Duryodhan said, "Oh, I came first, so I should have the first chance." Shri Krishna said, "Well, when I woke up, I first saw Arjun. Also, he's a bit younger than you, so let's give him the first chance." Duryodhan was scared that what if Arjun asks for Krishna's army? Krishna gave them a choice that either you can have me or you can have my army, but I will not fight. So Duryodhan was very concerned, what is Arjun going to ask? However, when Arjun given a chance, Arjun said, "Oh my Lord, I just want you." Shri Krishna said, "Are you sure? You know that I will not fight in the battle." And Arjun said, "I don't care, as long as I have you by my side, I don't need anyone else. So Krishna just smiled. Duryodhan in his heart was also very happy, because he was thinking, oh, how stupid Arjun is, that what need or what use is Krishna if he's not even going to pick up his weapons? And he said, oh Krishna, I will take your army. So he had an army of 18 Akshauhani, which is several thousands of soldiers, and Duryodhan thought that it was much better to have those thousands of soldiers on his side than Krishna. This is the difference between spiritual consciousness and material consciousness. In material consciousness, we think, oh, if we get this entire world, if we get all the riches and all the assets and all the treasures of this world, we will be very happy, we will be victorious. Just like Duryodhan was thinking that if he gets all these soldiers, he would be victorious. But spiritual consciousness is that when one knows that all this is temporary, and if one gets association of the Lord and his devotees, if one gets shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then that is real victory, that is real happiness. So difference between dharma and adharma is whether we want to be towards God or we want to be away from him. See, God is spelled G-O-D, and the reverse of this is D-O-G, dog. So whether we want to be in God consciousness or dog consciousness is simply this difference, whether we want to be subservient to the Lord's will or we want to be away from him and become attached to this material world like the dogs. So from the very beginning we can see what is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj explains in his commentary, the subject matter of the Gita is exclusive devotion, which is like a wish-fulfilling jewel. This jewel has been safely kept inside Bhagavad Gita, which is likened to a treasure chest. The base of this chest is worship of the Supreme Lord by working without attachment to the fruits of one's activities, which is called Nishkam Karam Yoga. The lid of this chest is spiritual realization through transcendental knowledge. This is called Gyan Yoga. And the treasure within this treasure chest is devotion to the Supreme Lord or Bhakti. Only those who have staunch faith, who are fixed in religious principles, who have good character, and who are in control of their senses are qualified to study this literature. In order to more completely understand the subject matter, an explanation or bhav anuvad of this commentary is given. So Kurukshetra is a holy place, and Dhritarashtra was very concerned that being in such a holy place, in the presence of Shri Krishna himself, as well as the Pandavas who were very religious, it might have an impact on his son's consciousness, on the consciousness of Duryodhan, Dushasan and his 98 other sons, that they, instead of wanting to fight, may agree to be at peace with the Pandavas, they may compromise with the Pandavas. Dhritarashtra very well knew that good association can turn one's heart. But see, he did not want that to happen. Even though he knew what was right, he knew that the right thing was to give Yudhishthir or make the kingdom and make him the king, but he was so attached to his sons that he was ready to completely overlook what was right. He did not want his sons to compromise, because he thought that if they compromise, then the Pandavas will continue to be there and he will not have kingdom for his sons without any impediments. Dhritarashtra to some extent knew the position of Krishna, but his infatuation with his sons was so much stronger that he completely overlooked or internally even denied the position of Krishna as the Supreme Lord. See, we all know that God exists. We know that He is the supreme creator because you and me have not created this world. We also know that this life is temporary. Somewhere deep in our heart, we also know that surrender to Lord is the only purpose of this life. However, we are not able to do so. Why? Because of intense attachment to material things. This leads to spiritual blindness. Dhritarashtra was physically blind. That was not so much of a problem because physical blindness is not an impediment to spiritual advancement. But he was actually even spiritually blind, knowing what is position of Krishna and what is right and wrong. He still wanted to have the kingdom for his sons, whom he also knew were not religious. It is said, Dharmen vihina pashubhi samana, that without following the religious principle, one degrades down to the level of animals. And that is what is happening to the society. And Krishna is going to give this message of Bhagavad Gita to elevate our consciousness from this animalistic consciousness to spiritual consciousness. So Dhritarashtra wanted to make sure that having assembled in the battle of Kurukshetra, his sons and the Pandavas will actually fight. That's why he says, Kim akuruvat Sanjayah? What did they do? And he says, Mamakaha Pandavascha. He first referred to his own sons, Mamakaha, and separated the Pandavas from his sons. Even though he was the elder uncle of the Pandavas, and he should have looked them with the same vision. That is the right consciousness. That is Sanatan Dharam. But he saw those 5 Pandavas as separate from his sons. And he first was more concerned about his own sons. That's the reason he first says Mamakaha, not Pandavaha. Mamakaha, and then he says Pandavaha. What did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? Again, this is material consciousness. Aham mam eti. When we are only concerned about I and mine, only about myself and those things and those people who are connected to my physical body. When one rises above this consciousness, that's when one actually develops a spiritual vision. In the conclusion, Krishna will say to Arjun, Brahmbhuta prasan atma, na shochati na kankshati, samah sarvetu shu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. This is the 54th verse of the 18th chapter, where he says that one who is situated in Brahm consciousness or spiritual consciousness is equally disposed to all living beings, and in such consciousness, such person attains my pure bhakti. We don't see that in the character of Dhritarashtra, who was so much more inclined towards his sons than the sons of Pandu. He is asking Sanjay what is happening in the battle of Kurukshetra. However, they were sitting in their own palace. Why is he asking Sanjay? Because Sanjay had a very special vision. Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj explains that Sanjay was the son of a charioteer named Galvagam. He was completely conversant with the conclusions of all scriptures, and he was generous and dedicated to religious principles. Because of these virtuous qualities, Grandsire Bhishma appointed him and Vidur as Dhritarashtra's royal ministers. Sanjay was considered to be a second Vidur and was also an intimate friend of Arjun. By the mercy of Sri Vyasadeva, he had received divine vision and was thus able to narrate all the events of the war to Dhritarashtra. This enabled him to view the battle of Kurukshetra from within the distant royal palace in Hastinapur. Maharaj Yudhishthir also described Sanjay as a sweet-speaking well-wisher of everyone, who had a peaceful temperament and who was always satisfied and impartial. He was fixed in moral conduct and was never agitated by others' ill behavior, because he always remaining unbiased and fearless, his speech was fully consistent with religious principles. So we discussed today what was the position of Dhritarashtra, what was the position of Pandavas and Kauravas in relation to Dharma and Adharma, and who was Sanjay. So this concludes the discussion of the first verse of Bhagavad Gita. We will continue with the second verse next time. Till then, Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. Have a very blessed day.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.